All right, so hi everyone. So far now we have seen that what is the strategy part, the overview part of the polity, how we are going to start with the first segment, that is nothing but constitution, and there we are going to integrate the basic concepts with the bridging link and then landing into the final document that is called constitution, and we'll take it part by part. So let's start now with the basic concepts. Now, when we talk about the basic concepts, then the first thing is nothing but, as we have seen, we are going to get familiar with some terms. Like the first term, maybe you might have heard a word that is called nation. Now, when we use this term, nation, we all have understanding what do we mean by nation. We have a feeling of nationalism. Whenever we fill up some forms and all those things, so there we write the nationality and there we write Indian. But technically speaking, what exactly this term implies? Then the corresponding second term, with that we often use the term state. Now here, please remember, state and states both are different terms. Whenever we are going to refer state, it will imply the country or at the national level. When we take states like Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu and all, so we'll be talking about the units and how these two terms are different, how to differentiate with the nation and the state. That part we'll cover. Then state comprises of a couple of elements. For example, state have something called government. So third part would be knowing about the government. What do you mean by the government? What its composition and all about. Then it also have people or so-called population. That could be the second subcomponent of state. Third, territory. So state also comprises of territory, government, population, territory. And when we talk about another terms like state should be sovereign or not, or what do we mean by the concept called sovereignty, like this we'll cover some of more basic concepts. And once we have the familiarity with these basic concepts, then we can go for the bridging link. So let's take one by one, and the first one is nothing but the combination of nation and state. So when we say nation, what exactly the nation implies? When we say nation, the first and foremost thing in the nation is nothing but it's a entity, it's a conceptual understanding, it's a feeling. So basically, nation is nothing but it's a feeling. Now, what kind of feeling? Feeling as a people, as a citizen of a particular country or nation, if I have a feeling of oneness, if I have a feeling of belongingness, if I have a feeling of unity, that feeling is known as feeling of nationalism or being a part of nation. So when we say nation, nation is something which doesn't exist in reality. We cannot quantify it. It's more or less like a qualitative term rather than quantitative term. And when we say qualitative term, it's a sort of mental construct. It's there in one's mind. Drawing the diagram or pictorial representation of the term nation may be a difficult thing because the feeling of nationalism may be there if I'm residing within the country. Even if I'm a diaspora, maybe Indian diaspora, I'm residing outside the country, still there would be a feeling or there would be a mental construct in mind that I am an Indian national. So it's basically a mental construct, unity, sense of belongingness or feeling of oneness, right? Then one may ask that, can we define it? It's really difficult to define because it's a feeling. However, technically we can define it. What do you mean by a nation? Nation is nothing but something like wherein our political boundaries are equated with the geographical boundaries. So, geographical boundary, what we use the term territory, right? If that geographical boundary, let's say from J&K to Kanyakumari or maybe from Arunachal to Gujarat, if we have this particular location, that would be my territory. And if the people residing within the territory have the feeling of this oneness or belongingness, then that territory may be termed as nation. So ideally, nation is nothing but, nation is something like a feeling of oneness, belongingness or unity. Or one can say it's a mental construct or something which is there in the mind. Being in India, let's say Indian national, we might not have a feeling towards the country. And when we talk this nation, you might have read in history something called national movement and all those things. So that movement was basically, though we take it as a freedom struggle or to get rid of our independence from the colonial yoke. However, the whole approach was nothing but to make India a country which can be equated with the term nation. Is the process complete? We can't say so, because it's something which may take another 100 years, another 1,000 years, or more than that. So it's a thing which is in the process of building. What is that date when we'll say that we are, as Indian, India is a country as well as India is a nation? That is unpredictable as of now. Then one may say that, what is state then? State is nothing but, when we talk about the state, then state is something, this is also a part of political entity or process, and it's a political term. Many scholars like Plato's Republic, John Locke's or Kautilya Arthashastra, they have given time and again different meaning to the term called state. However, in modern parlance, if we say, not only it's a political entity, but it's something which exists in real. When we say something which exists in real, it can be seen, it can be felt, it can be visualized, it can be drawn. And one can definitely say that, okay, territory from north to south or from west to east is nothing but the stretch of my state. Or whatever we say, 3.28 million square kilometer is the territorial area. That's nothing but we are defining the area of the state. So state is something, first, it is nothing but something which exists in real and it's a part of political entity. Second, state have certain components. As I've told you, it will have something that is known as government. It will have something that is known as population. It will have territory. It will have sovereignty and so on. So, very quickly we'll look into these terms and then we'll try to differentiate between the two. But coming back to these two demarcation, that is nation and the state, are they same? So, certainly the answer is no. But are they similar? We can say so. Why? Because the term nation and the state, sometimes they are interchangeably used. But there are certain differences. As we have seen that it's a feeling, but it's a reality. It is something like ideal. It is something like practical. It is something which exists in the mind. It is something which exists on the territory or in the form of something which we can see or visualize. I hope you are understanding the meaning of nation and the state. And we use these two terms very frequently for representing India. We call India as a nation also, India as a state also. But what exactly the position is, very shortly we'll conclude. So that is how we have to understand the difference between nation and the state. Now, then one probable question comes in mind. Are we a nation or we a state? And probably we use both the terms, as I've told you, interchangeably. However, when we talk about, or if somebody asks us, what is the status of India? India is a nation or India is a state? So, here we can quote some examples. Like for example, if I have to say one nation and one state, can you quote some country where we can say the country is one, having the feeling of nationalism or oneness, plus its territorial boundary is also same as political boundary? Then the example could be, we can cite the example of Japan. Now when we say about Japan, here the people or the Japanese, they have that feeling of oneness, plus they are in a defined territory which is equated. So wherever their boundaries stretch, there you can find that feeling. And the best example of one nation, one state can be Japan. Then the question may be, is there a possibility of one nation, two states? Certainly. An example? Korea. You might have heard about the Korean people. South Korea, North Korea, they are part of what? One feeling, one nationalism, being Koreans. But they are exactly or diagonally opposite to each other when we talk about the North Korea and South Korea. Then there can be another example wherein we have two nations but one state. Like, just look at the neighborhood, Sri Lanka. If you've done a bit of international studies or international relation, then northern part and the southern part, or we can say where the people from Indian origin or Indian origin Tamilians are resided there, Sinhalese and non-Sinhalese. So they actually differentiate. Though they are one state, but there is a different feeling in the island nation, especially in the northern part, is different from what is there in the southern part within the same state. There can be example of a nation without state. So is there any country or a state which is not there only, but still the feeling of nationalism is there? You might have heard about Palestine. Now Palestine, there the people have that feeling of oneness, but unfortunately there is no territory called Palestine. I hope you're understanding. So, like this, when we talk about our country, what is the best equation we can have for India? For India, what we use the term, India is a state. No doubt about it. But it is also a nation in making. So, when we cite the example of India, India is a state, but it is still to be called as a nation. It's a gradual process. It is like happening. Reasons, it could be many. Diversity, right? The stratification in the society, caste, class, religion, tradition, convention, practices, norms, values, so many things are there by which we are different. But still, we try to have that one feeling that is called nation, and for that we are trying. So the best part for India is nothing but India is a state, no doubt about it. However, to become a complete nation, it may take some more time. Now I hope you are clear with the term called nation and the state. Great.